Welcome to day 104. Weirdly enough, it's raining outside, which is really unusual. Alrighty, we're moving. Let's get back to the road and then we'll update where we're going for today. There was a lot of bugs back in those woods and they've managed to follow us out here, which is not ideal. We're back out on the road. We've lost a few of the flies that were following us for the last half a mile or so. We're at another little rest stop. Pulled off the main road and they have these big stone tables with stone seatings, which are actually kind of neat. The next town, it's big enough to have like a hospital and grocery stores and a museum to Swedish elk, which are what we call moose in America. Took me a while to figure that out. About 6.5 miles down the road. And then there's a following town called Ljungby, Ljungby. About 13 miles from where we are now, so an additional 5 or so miles. And that one's big enough to have a McDonald's, which I found only happens in towns of a certain size around here. So that's our plan today. We'll at least get to Ljungby. And speaking of, I don't know if you guys remember yesterday at the little rest stop that we pulled over and we're considering sleeping at, there was all those burial mounds. Speaking of their rest stops sort of being dedicated to stuff, this one right here also has a memorial to someone who passed away. But at this exact spot, or actually I think it's maybe in that next field, but this is where they placed the memorial. The former bassist to the band Metallica apparently died here in an accident. His name was Clifford Lee Burton. So you can see all the guitar picks and all the things that people have left as sort of a tribute memorial to him. I have not been a big metal music listener in my life, but I've heard of Metallica. The next town called Lagan, the one with the hospital, and the Elk Museum also has a museum tributed to him. I found this little thing that explains what happened. Apparently it was 1986. The band was still relatively unknown at the time and they had just played a gig in Stockholm and were on their way to the next one in Copenhagen. And it was nighttime and they all wanted the seat by the window, all the members of the band, because apparently that was the best for sleeping. They drew out a deck of cards and whoever got the ace of spades won, and he won. But it turns out the bus had an accident. It skid, it flipped off the road, and it flipped several times. He was thrown out the window and it was run over by, I can't tell if it said the bus or another vehicle. Everybody else on the inside of the bus, all the other members of the band at least, survived with no injuries. Hey Jack, you ready to go? Okay, come on. Okay, quick. Oh, that's a good boy. I didn't know this is coming, but I know just enough Swedish to know that says church ruins. Okay, so this sign is really helpful. It says that the church was in Middle Ages. In the 1873, they found something dating from the 12th century, and they still were able to find the bell and the old font. This is the old font that used to be in this church, which is just up the hill, and it's currently located in just the next little town, which is just a kilometer or so that way. And it's still actively used. A lot of these informative signs have a lot more written in Swedish than they do translated into English or German, which means you're missing out on stuff if you don't whip out Google Translate. The Swedish portion stated that it was destroyed in 1560 by the Danes, but they still don't really give a definition or a definitive date of when it was constructed or when it was used. But obviously that 12th century gives you sort of a clue. All they say is that it was in the Middle Ages or the Iron Ages. There you go. Church ruin. And apparently they built it right adjacent to an old Viking cemetery. So a lot of these burial mounds around here are from the Viking age. Every time you see a mound. Kind of interesting that they've got, pews in here. And then this must be where the altar was, or wherever the preacher, whatever they had back then. I don't really know about medieval churches. It did say in the Swedish inscription that they covered the tops in concrete to stop the degradation that was happening. I think people would walk up there, or just the elements. It seems like mostly the people that use this now is the crows. I don't know if you can hear those, but they're surrounding us and they're everywhere. I think a lot of the burial mounds are over there according to Google Earth, so all those little humps that you see. I've noticed that a lot of those type of things are used by cow pasture lands because I guess they don't really do any damage to them. Oh, whoa. Back on the move. We're just a few hundred feet up the road. I think that says grave field. You can see all the mounds. And then there's extremely sun-warped sign. I can barely read out some of it that says like that these burial mounds are from 500 to 1050 BC. It says there's 3 fields, 3 burial grounds with a total of over 150 graves, probably belonging to one village. So it says this area used to be really a big deal back in the Iron Age. So there's today's history lesson. This sign is the exact same as the last one I was looking at, but we're adjacent to another grave field, and I can read it a little bit better. It says that for most of the Iron Age, the dead were cremated, but during the 11th century, burials were influenced by the Christian faith, so that's probably when these are around, because they're burial mounds rather than just cremating their dead. And so that gives you your time estimate from 500 to 1050 BC. And it also says that each of these 3 burial mound grave sites that are around here probably belong to a distinct village. Each one of them had their own. Another really fun fact is that this is the cutest dog in the entire world, and his name is Jack, and he's actually my buddy. We hang out all the time. I'm not going to say I own him, even though I think that is typically what people say, but he's my friend. And we're going to start walking again. Okay, come on. It's not like a very typical friend that you can just be like, hey, I'm going to walk across Europe, you're coming with for 3 months, but he was super down. He never complains. In fact, whatever I want to do any given day, he's down to do with me. And that's what dogs are men's best friend and women's. Something you don't see that often. An entirely greenscape roof. It's official, the cows in Sweden are far more curious than the cows in the United States. Every time. They can really run. It is 4:59 on the nose. Welcome to Lagan. Old turbine. This little sign here on the path. I'm not sure what the theme is, but it says, what is the little visible bulge on the larynx called? Is it called a shoulder apple, an Adam's apple, or a Stroop's apple, which Google could not translate for me. The answer is Adam's apple, by the way. Looks like there used to be a train here. We're moving again. We didn't start walking today until about 2. Trying to get at least a few miles in today. Jack's taking it up. Actually, he has a very distinct walk for when he's about to do something, what he's doing right now. I knew this is what he was going for. found a path that's leading to the next town, so luckily I don't have to walk on the road. And then just randomly on the side of the path there's something called the Skywalk. And you can just, it floats over this little creek slash swamp. Jack doesn't quite trust it. Come here. He's got very mixed feelings. Or maybe it's the grating is hard on his toe beans. Not hard, but weird, uncomfortable. What you looking at, buddy? What you looking at? I cannot get over how much better these pathways are. The road is about 1/8 of a mile that way. This protected pathway has carried us between towns for the last 4 miles. It's just such a better system. So much safer. Safer. It is not quite 9 p.m. We're still on this little path. We're still, I don't know, a mile or so out from the El Jungbi. I'm considering stopping here because these are the perfect forests for camping. I mean, perfect. Look at this flat ground, not too thickly vegetated. The trees are spaced out. It's picturesque with the golden light coming in through the edge, but fading as you get deeper into the woods. That is literally perfect. I mean, like, look, there's a clearing right there, right there. That would be perfect. The only reason I'm not taking it immediately is because, one, it's not quite 9. 2, I've only gone 13 miles. Those are both pretty low numbers. Well, I really like to keep walking because a lot of my favorite type of photography happens at night. The light gets more interesting. I like nighttime photography. And listen to the birds. These pine trees are like perfectly straight. It's just, it might be worth it for the sake of the picturesqueness alone. And then I've been wandering until around midnight the last couple nights, and I'm getting kind of tired of that. Morning, welcome to day 105. I did end up using the forest last night to camp in, but you can't tell where we slept. That perfectly square flat patch. And I just broke down the camp and packed my cart in less than 15 minutes. I'm not trying to brag, it just comes naturally to me, the bragging. Okay, I apologize for the wind. It's just how it be sometimes. 2 updates. 1, slight variation of my plans. I was planning on following the E4 corridor, which leads straight to Helsingborg, and then taking a ferry over to Denmark to see some of the Danes. None of them specifically, I don't know any of them, but I'm guessing there are a few in Denmark. 2, and that's because, well, that was just the straightest route. But the change of plans, wow, so many bugs flitting around us. You can see those, right? Yeah. Someone said I should see the west coast of Sweden when I looked up a few of the towns, and they do look nice. So I'm going to swing over that way today instead of going straight down through the E4 corridor. Oh my goodness. We're going to have to move soon. We can't deal with this many flies for that long. The other thing of note today is that it is finally kind of warm. The last 10 days have just been so crappy weather-wise. It's a very pleasant change of pace. Let's get going. We're gonna go see the next town of Ljungby. Beep. Wow, look at these pickleball or tennis courts. I'm guessing tennis, but they seem kind of small. Anyway, they're wrapped in glass, not glass, which seems expensive and unnecessary. Bop. According to Google, these are the first 2 dudes to live here in Ljungby in the 11th century. Not sure why one of them's clothed and one of them's only wearing a cape. I guess that's all he needed. Despite it starting that long ago, apparently up until the 1800s, the entire town consisted of 5 farms, so it was very small. And only then that it started to grow a little bit. So none of it is like terribly old. Even the church was built in the 18th or 19th century. But apparently in 1953, almost everything that had been built up to that point got burned down. And when they rebuilt, they decided to, instead of build like this old European style, Swedish style, they decided to build in what was then the modern style. So like this hotel is the most famous example. Apparently even today, people still kind of don't like it. I feel like I'm about to get rained on. See all the way all those trees are dancing? That usually means a storm's coming. Anyway, the population of this town is about 15,000. I've been doing some reading. Apparently Sweden doesn't have cities or towns. It only has municipalities. And there's like 290 of them, and it comprises the whole area. So when there's a built-up area inside of it, it's called like the locality inside that municipality. They used to have towns. They got rid of all of them in 1971. So the term stad, which means city or town, is only used like historically to refer to places that used to be stads. Sometimes they still use them just in the name, like Gamla Stad, Old Town Sweden, Old Town Stockholm. But apparently there's no like official government recognition of towns or cities so far as I understand it. There's just municipalities and the biggest localities inside of them, but they don't have like government functions. I looked at the weather report. It's supposed to rain from 2 until 8. There's like a 70% chance of it happening at every hour. So I'm looking for a place that ideally I can be out of the weather with my dog, have access to power since all my battery banks are pretty much dead, and I could use my laptop without it draining everything. And I don't know what that looks like. I remember there's a specific grocery store that I saw like a week and a half ago or something called City Gross, and they had like a glassed area that wasn't like part of the store, but it was like where the carts were. There was a few benches in there, and I took my dog in there and I just left him there, but didn't take him inside the grocery part, and nobody seemed to mind. And they have another City Gross here in this town, so I'm gonna go see if they have like a similar setup, because I think that could work pretty well. I really don't want to get rained on. This is the place I was talking about. It's called City Gross. It's kind of like a miniature mall. And they have this big glass entryway. In the last one I stayed at, there was a few benches in here, but here we've got one right outside. And it's got a big enough wraparound porch that I think it'll work for our purposes. I just made a reel about how I looked kind of homeless out here. And the guy just comes up to us. He goes, "You want a sweets or a Fanta? I'll go buy it for you." I'm not trying to make fun of his English, but that's just what he sounded like. He must be from maybe Syria. I meet a lot of people that sound kind of like him, and they're usually from Syria around here. I was like, "Oh no, we're good. We're just waiting out the rain." He was pretty insistent, so I was like, "Sure, I'll take it. Thanks, man." I think he said his name was Dennis, which is not a very Syrian-sounding name, but maybe it's like one of those situations where they adopt a name that's easier to say.
We live together, but it's official.
Sure.
Like I come Norway 3 years ago, Oslo. In the morning, bus terminalen. I go in King Palace fast, very fast, photo. But I want a little bit feel. I go in the morning, I come back 8 o'clock to evening. I no stay because only I won't make photo much fast. Next time I come, be relaxed, quiet. 3 days, 4 days stay hostel. I go slowly. I feel,
Yeah.
I want to feel first. Your name?
Isaiah.
Azea, you from Norway?
No, from USA?
USA, USA. I want to come, maybe I feel my girlfriend one day. I want to buy this drone, DJI Air
DJI?
the Pro 4. When I get this, if I get the visa to US, I come to New York Times, San Francisco, photo all over.
Yeah.
And I send Facebook, my friend, they jealous me. I don't like jealous people. Go. Believe your dream and just go. You don't need anything, not the other. Maybe little food, bread, but that be with you. I go many countries, but I am rich now. I
gonna make
believe
it
and I
happen.
go. If you know when route you eating cheap, if you know when you sleep well, cheap hostel, info is sometimes very important. See, it's going like water. Sleep cheap hostel, eat cheap area place, restaurant, some other, and you are not die. Or forget, sleep outside, no problem. Umbrella,
That's what I do.
camping, and sleep.
Yeah,
In the morning, oh, fresh day, new life, go.
I like it. Yes.
Nice to meet you.
I think I can. Got me a Pepsi and some sweets. You heard it here first, guys. Just follow your dreams and go. Thanks, Denise. Good man. He is from Turkey. It's pronounced like Denise. Maybe it's, I don't know. Really coming down though now. Woo. It is 6 p.m., just a little after. It is still raining, but the good news is now there's also an extreme wind. I don't want to go over there where the wind is, but I'll show you. I don't know if you can hear that, the feedback on the microphone. Unfortunately, there's a bench right behind that green one, which is under the roof. But with the wind coming in from that direction, if you sit on it, you get soaked anyway. So we have to sit here on the ground. We've gone over there twice when the wind has died down for an hour or so, and then it always picks back up, and the rain comes in so far to the side that you get soaked. So now we're back over here where the shopping carts go. I would like to sit inside there, but there is a sign right there that specifically says no dogs. They probably mean like no dogs inside the main store, and I probably could get away with going in like right there. But I just hate to be a punk. Even if we could just hang out in here, it would be a lot better. But like I said, I don't want to stay in here by myself and just leave my dog out there all alone, because then he'd be sad, and I'd be sad too. So I hang out there with him in the cold. I've been shivering here for 4.5 hours. So blue sky isn't a nice thing to see. There's some over there too. Here, buddy. Come here. Come here. Oh, good boy. Jack got some sores on one of his legs from the harness that would go behind his leg and around his neck kind of deal. So now we're just doing this style until release until the harness. Alright, we've gone less than 6 miles and it's very nearly 8 o'clock, so we're gonna try to get at least a mile or two more in. Some days you just don't go very far. I don't usually give the weather services a lot of credit. I've got a generally pretty low opinion of their accuracy, but that's what's kind of jaded. I'll tell you what, today they were right on. Weather, rain started when they said it would, stopped when they said it would, and the conditions before and after look exactly like what they said it was going to. So good job, weather reporting service for today. 29. Why not 10? Hi, I film primarily on my phone. That's what I'm holding right now. You can't tell, but I can. And every time I get a phone call from whoever, primarily my mom and dad, because that's primarily who calls me. Anyway, I can't film. I guess I could. I do have other cameras, but I'm also talking, so. Found a spot for the night, basically is what I'm trying to say. I'm just off this little offshoot road, which is off the main road. Main road is a strong term, seeing as ever since I've been on this road, I left this town, I've been passed by 0 cars. Nary a one. So hopefully tonight we'll be safe. I'm far enough off the tracks, so I don't think I'll get hit by a car. It is sort of a slanty thing, so I think I'll be fighting that all night, but it is 10:38. I'm tired of those nights where I've just been going and going and going until midnight. So I'm just gonna take a spot, call it good. See you tomorrow. Thanks for being here. You're the best. Love you. Bye.